Greetings, Culture Warriors. It is I, Jeff Vieira, the author of Culture is Everything, and your host for this latest dispatch from the front. Back to the news for you today. This is from the Business Insider. It's a story by Madeline Stone. And the headline is, "I'm totally confused. The CEO of America's largest mall operator laments lost rent payments and lashes out at states that kept malls closed while Costco stayed open." The U.S.'s largest mall operator is sounding the alarm on the future of the enclosed shopping center. Simon Property Group said in its quarterly earnings calls on Monday that it had collected only 51% of its owed rent for April and May combined. It collected 69% of June's rent and 73% of July's rent. 91% of Simon Property Group's tenants had reopened as of Monday. They have contracts they're obligated to, but certain tenants haven't paid, CEO and President David Simon said in the call, adding that the company is still in negotiations with some retailers. "I was feeling pretty good in June about finally getting back to work, and I feel less good in July, and now I'm totally confused," Simon said in response to a question about future rent payments. Some retailers chose not to pay rent in April and May because states mandated that non-essential businesses shut down temporarily. Simon said the closures of non-essential retail in response to the coronavirus pandemic led to the company losing a collective 10,500 potential shopping days. The company did provide abatements for a number of local businesses and restaurants, which, along with write-offs from bankrupt tenants, led to a $215 million hit for Simon Property Group. Even before the pandemic hit, there was much discussion about how malls should evolve to better fit customers' needs as e-commerce rose in prominence and department stores declined. The pandemic has only accelerated that shift. Simon said that the company probably has too many department stores in its big malls. He said it's also likely there are too many malls in the portfolio overall. Over the weekend, a report in the Wall Street Journal said that Simon Property Group was in talks with Amazon to take over former Sears and JCPenney stores and turn them into fulfillment centers and malls. Such a deal would benefit Amazon in that the fulfillment centers would potentially be close to customers, which would allow the e-commerce giant to cut down delivery times. It wouldn't help bring new customers into malls, however. While Simon declined to comment on the reports, calling them market rumors or speculation, he did respond to an analyst's question about how the company views malls' future. He didn't rule out adding more grocery stores as tenants. There's all sorts of ideas floating around about what the mall can do and how it can service the community, and we continue to work on a lot of those things. I think great real estate will always weigh out, and I just think we've got to continue to evolve the product, which we're making very good progress on and will continue to do so. An Amazon spokesman declined to comment on the Wall Street Journal's report over the weekend. Simon Property Group has reopened all of its malls except 7 in California, where they were forced to close again due to new restrictions. States' reopenings have typically prioritized outdoor spaces over enclosed areas like malls, as evidence points to indoor spaces posing a higher risk of spreading the novel coronavirus. Simon has said this has been a point of frustration for the company. A number of states dealt with the enclosed mall a lot differently than other retailers, and we were cleaner, had better protocols, we had better air, and all that other stuff, Simon said. There's not a lot of difference, frankly, between a Costco store and a Simon Mall when it comes to protocols and cleanliness and air quality. He added, "Man, let us compete." As of the end of 2019, Simon operated more than 200 malls in 37 states. All right, so quite a bit to unpack as usual within a story like this because it's so typical of some other trends that are going on. We've talked in the past about the pressure on retail and especially on malls even before the pandemic hit. But the game-playing favoritism that the government has demonstrated in picking winners and losers in the retail space during the pandemic has clearly created some casualties. And I'll tell you why. Who goes to malls? Who goes to malls? I'll give you a hint. It's not the hip and trendy people packed into urban city centers who frequent malls. It's not typically the very poor who go to malls. Mall shoppers are typically older and middle class. These are people who have some concerns, perhaps, about ordering e-commerce, whether it's from a security perspective, whether it's from a environmental perspective, but they haven't warmed to ordering online and having their orders show up at their doors. That's who your mall going population is. Also, you have teenage kids who go to the mall and use the mall as a hangout. But the teenage kids generally aren't spending a ton of money in the mall. It's their parents and grandparents who do so. So you've got to understand that the point of the pandemic controls is not to control the pandemic in the United States. It is a weapon aimed at the heart of the middle class. Malls are a middle class thing. And so malls get destroyed. Costco, on the other hand, has a little bit more diversity in who goes and a lot more political pull on Capitol Hill. So Costco gets to stay. Liquor stores and head shops are necessary because people otherwise might be inclined to get out and protest the loss of their constitutional rights against their would-be rulers. But if they're drunk and they're high, they won't. Churches. Churches are a middle-class phenomenon. It is, generally speaking, the middle class which attends church each Sunday. We're talking about the Christian churches here, by and large. So worship had to be strictly curtailed. Have you seen any Muslims protesting the inability to go to mosque? No, you haven't. But have you seen any mosques closed down? I suspect you haven't. Find out where the local mosque is in your neighborhood. Friday is the most important day of prayer in a mosque. And just drive by on a Friday and see how busy it is. I suspect you'll find the parking lot jammed. Mosques are not targeted. But Catholic churches, Protestant churches, non-denominational churches, these have been targeted for extinction. So man, let us compete, as this poor CEO notes, applies not simply to mall operators, but to everyone, every small businessman whose restaurant was cut in half by the bogus need to socially distance. This virus is aerosolized. What does aerosolized mean? It means that the tiny little 125 nanometer at the largest diameter virus particles float in the air. It means that they get sucked up by air conditioning systems. And if not treated with UV light or something similar, quickly get dispersed throughout any space that they're in and stay persistent for some time. That means that over time, the concentration of virus particles in an area tends to go up. That explains some of the phenomenon we've seen where we had known infected individuals in enclosed spaces as to how they wound up infecting so many other people, even though they never came within physical contact of those people. They didn't come within 6 feet. It's because the virus is airborne. How do you get rid of an airborne virus? Well, it takes an awful lot. One of the things it takes is sunlight, which is why we had to ban people from using the beach, because getting out there in the fresh air and the sunshine would have killed the virus stone dead. We can't have that. We need that virus. How are we going to justify the lockdowns going past the election? Why, if we don't have the virus, Joe Biden might have to stand on a stage with President Trump and get annihilated as Dementia Joe falls apart. Can't have that. That upsets the apple cart in terms of what our rulers in the deep state bureaucracy must have. They value power. They use safety as a means to obtain and protect that power. They do not value competition. They protect favored companies from competition. It's a flat fact. And so you run into a situation where men like Mr. Simon, who run a legitimate enterprise that brings joy to a lot of people, are banned from competition. They're not allowed to ply their trade. He looks in vain for a justification of this based on what we know about the virus, but of course there is none, because it is not the virus which is driving the policy. It is politics, the toxic politics of the left in the United States. Man, let us compete. It's reminiscent somehow of an earlier motto that was outright revolutionary at the time that it was issued by another group of individuals, largely businessmen, who just wished to be able to compete on the same playing field in the marketplace that everyone else did. You may recognize this motto because it was famously presented on a flag at one critical point in American history. And that motto was, "Don't tread on me." Thank you and have a great day.